Good morning, everybody. My name is Colby Pitts. I am the Florida Friendly Landscaping Coordinator here in Hernando County. Dr. Lester had something come up, so he's not going to be here today. But in his place, we have the previous Hernando County Florida Friendly Landscaping Coordinator, Miss Lily Browning. And as always, Master Gardener Bernie is with us. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them, or at least talk about it. So I see already we got a good morning, and that they posted the Facebook link to the plant clinic in our community Facebook page. We always appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like we say, if you guys were not here asking questions, enjoying watching us, then we probably wouldn't do it. I know Bernie was just talking about speaking with someone this morning about St. Augustine grass, and if you don't mind, Bernie, I'd like you to elaborate on that for me.
Well, the problem with grass in Florida is uh, it should be Florida should look like that scene behind you. Grass is not one of the things that really grows well here in Florida, and it's a case of people move here, and because they had beautiful grass and it was easy to do, they expect to have beautiful grass, easy to do here in Florida. And it doesn't work that way. Grass in Florida is like palm trees in Maine. It's way out of place, and it can be done, but you're going to have to pay to have it really look the way you want it. And this gentleman was looking for something easy, and there isn't an easy answer. It's a case of uh, the mowing height is the most important thing. So if you mow it at 4 inches, the roots get nice and long, and it picks up water, and it helps. If you mow it short, it's under stress. It only produces a little short root. 2-inch blades, about 2-inch roots. Never gets enough water because it can't get down to where the water is. Um, because it's under stress, there's a fungus that's very prevalent in Florida called take-all root rot. It eats the plants, and it produces these brown spots in the lawn. The brown spots in the lawn look like things that were caused by a bug 20 years ago called chinch bug. And your neighbor looks over the fence and says, well, you got chinch bugs. And after you spray $200, $500 worth of insecticide and the lawn still dies, man, we just didn't get them bugs soon enough. Well, the truth is, you never had chinch bugs. You had lousy maintenance on your lawn. And if you did it yourself, you just didn't get enough education on what you were doing. And if you paid somebody to do it, you got taken. So.
Well, I mean, it's important to remember too, with wanting that strong root structure. If you are watering your lawn every single day, or watering it a lot, that the grass doesn't have to go deep to get that water. Its roots will stay right there at the top. So if you, that's kind of one of the reasons why, if you establish sod here, we have a calendar with recommendations on it, and you don't water every day and then just stop. You kind of wean it off, because you want that grass to go deep down into the ground to get to water. It prevents, it gives it a little bit more drought tolerance, I think, when you have a deep root structure rather than one that's just right there on the top layer of soil.
It depends a lot on what type of grass you're talking about. If you have Bermuda, and you have the right variety of Bermuda, you can mow it a half-inch tall, and it'll develop 18-inch roots. Of course, you got to water it every day, and you have to fertilize it every week, and you have to really watch it, because if any insect problem comes along, they can take it out in a hurry, and if it gets any disease, any fungal problem, that can take it out in a hurry. So, if you want a golf course green lawn, you can do it. But the people that maintain golf course greens went to college to learn how to maintain that particular grass
Mm-hmm.
for a period of time. They understand everything that's going on, and the instant anything happens they don't understand, they punch out a little plug and they send it to the university and say what's going on. And the university has got people that spend all day long researching and looking at these little samples that come from golf courses to make sure that no new diseases popped up, or what has to be done to take care of it. So education is the thing that's missing.
Well, and homeowners they don't have the special permits, from the water management district, and they're not going to get these special permits from the water management district, as homeowners to do that watering every day. We are 1 day a week in Hernando
well,
County.
One day a week works.
Yes.
If the lawn is healthy and has a decent root structure.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it is, if you take the average homeowner's care of a St. Augustine lawn, they mow it too short, they fertilize it constantly. They got a little truck comes by, spray some liquid nitrogen on it, so it's always growing, and they're always mowing it. And those two things, it never develops any root system, and it's always under stress. When things are growing's actually a stress. That if it's just sitting there not doing anything, it's happy. But if you force it to grow, now it's got to do something, and the doing something is a problem. And unfortunately, these lawns don't like that. So if you could write a book on how can I do the most damage to a lawn, it would be just keep doing what you're doing. It's that simple. And the Bahia lawns, but Bahia is a pasture grass. It's used to herd animals come through. They munch up the grass. They make a mess out of it. Boom! It pops up some seed heads. These little V's pop up on top of,
which are very offensive to people.
Oh, they're terrible. So the first thing you do is you mow it, and then the next day you have seed heads and you mow those so it looks great. And each one of those little Bermuda or Bahia grasses is an individual. If it dies, there's a hole in your lawn. So
right,
you get a few holes, and Florida's got 1 million weed seeds, and some of these seeds have been sitting around maybe as long as 30 years waiting for an opportunity to pop up. And as soon as you give it a little spot on the ground that the sun gets to and it's happy now, and this weed seed pops up. And if the weed grows faster than the grass, the weed shades out the grass. If the grass is taller than the weed, the grass shades out the weed. So you mow your Bahia short, and you keep the seed heads down, and eventually all you have is a whole yard full of weeds. And yet these Bahia places along the highways where they come in and they mow, and it pops up seed heads and reseeds itself, and they don't come back for 3 weeks. That grass is high. It shades out all the weeds. It's reseeded itself. It's real happy. You get a pretty solid strand of Bahia. Oh my goodness! Yeah. You see what happened to Lily? She just turned into a white.
Yes, turned into a circle.
Yep.
It's you mentioned that those seeds will wait 30 years. Plants have evolved for millions of years for those seeds to only start growing when it's the right time, when all of the conditions are right. And a lot of times when you're mowing your lawn that short, you're allowing those seeds. I mean, there's some seeds I know that they have like viable seeds that they've kept that have not sprouted or anything that are hundreds of years old because they've kept them in those conditions to keep the seeds dormant. It's super interesting, but I mean, you see that in the natural, like you're saying, where that seed knows it's not going to grow in this healthy lawn, so it's just going to sit there. But as soon as it sees that opportunity, almost all plants are opportunistic in some way, shape, or form. It's going to pop up and just whoosh, and now you have weeds in your yard.
Yeah, there's thousands of weeds, thousands of seeds in the lawn. Oh my goodness!
See, I'll tell you my story. we have been snowbirding here in a RV park in Colby's area of the woods in Bushnell. And we came across a deal and we bought a park model, which is a more permanent location here in the park. And we bought it from a Canadian couple who they need to get back to Canada permanently. They're not going to be coming back here anymore. They're past that stage in their life. And they left everything. We bought everything but their clothes. Basically, they took their clothes. They claimed they filled up a truck, so I can't even imagine. But, whole lot of stuff was left here. And there was a drawer of clothes that got missed. That was left here. Let's just say someone's commando in Canada. That's all I'm going to say there. But of all the fun treasures we are finding here as we are going through stuff, this was in the shed. Now, I'm in Bushnell, Florida. It's called Red Oaks. There are a lot of oaks. Colby knows there's a lot of oaks in Bushnell here. And this lot is a little bigger than your typical RV park, trailer park lot. And there's a lot of, got some open space between me and a pond. I call it a pond. It's, a DRA, but it's a nice pond. It always has water. So we found this, sun and shade. It's not open. So maybe he intended on using this grass to, pump up the lawn. So my husband showed it to me and I'm looking at it. It says, time to plant the seed. Let's see, spring or early fall. It goes about instructions, but I went to look like, what is this grass seed? What is it? He obviously bought it here. It's 26% vertical, I guess, tall fescue.
That's
15%
good.
Penn ARG. I assume that's a Penn State variety of annual ryegrass. 5% ridgeline Kentucky bluegrass. And then some other inert materials. Bernie. Well, let's test Colby, Bernie. What's going to happen if I put this seed down?
Well, if I had to guess, we are not in Kentucky, and I don't think Penn State is going out of their way to develop grass for Florida. So I would guess maybe that rye might grow okay, but I would say that not much else is going to happen. That's my guess, anyway.
Yeah. What do you think?
Actually, everything there will germinate, start them on, and it'll probably all be dead by the end of May.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It really kind of
They're all, it doesn't say what kind of ryegrass, but these are all, first of all, cool season grasses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when you're up north and the grass is green under the snow, because they are cool season grasses. Every lawn that's going to have any success whatsoever in Florida is going to be a warm season grass. Hence why your lawns are the color of the sand behind you, Colby, right now. And I always had a campaign going, trying to change the narrative and get people to realize, call them the golden lawns of winter. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. Your homeowners association may disagree, but we were trying to work on that. It's okay to have the golden lawns of winter. They are dormant. And they're not necessarily dormant because of any temperature issues going on. They're dormant because of the daylight hours. The grass go to sleep. That's what these warm season grasses do. It's the only type of semi-successful lawn you're going to have in Florida. It all goes back to the number one principle, right plant, right place. And this seed, we'll take it back to Pennsylvania with us.
Yeah.
See what it'll do there. But, if he had any intentions of spreading it around here, he might have had a lovely little baby-looking, nice, bright green lawn for 2 to 3 weeks here. Do you think maybe? Yes.
You know, when I was a child, if you went
Wow.
out in the lawn, you know,
Were you ever a child?
yes, it's back. I know.
Stone Age. Yeah.
Columbus had already been here by then. I'm
Okay.
not quite as old as everybody thinks, but um, when you went out on the lawn, you looked for four-leaf clovers. I don't know how many people have had the experience of looking for four-leaf clovers, but it's something that by probably 1960 was pretty much done. The monoculture grass thing came about uh, after World War II. The people had moved to the suburbs. That trend had just started. Uh, People leaving the cities and moving out, and the houses, instead of being next to the sidewalk, had lawns. And the people in the lawn business, uh, being brilliant like they really were, had come up with products that took care of the weeds, took care of the insects, and it became possible to have a monoculture lawn. Not that that was a good thing, but it was possible. And in order to make the most money with monoculture, you have to get people to buy into the program. So the push became, you're not really a good man if you don't have a perfect green lawn. You know, real men can grow a perfect green lawn. Real men don't have weeds. Real men can push a mower and have a perfectly trimmed lawn. Real men buy a lawn roller. Real men buy a sprinkler. Real men buy, and the thing was, they developed a state of mind that most of you guys that are watching, and most of the people I know, their fathers were the people that were pushed into this change of mind, that in order to be a successful real man, you have to be able to have a real lawn. And the perfect monoculture lawn became something that, one, was the ideal to attain, and second, the biggest money maker they could possibly turn it into. So by the time you bought all the lawn equipment that you needed, so that those people had it going, then you had to have the right grass seed, uh, the right chemicals, and it was expected that you use all this stuff. So people weren't adverse to chemicals. The adverse to chemical thing probably didn't start until about 20 years ago. But, uh, you know, everybody knew that you had to
Better
put
living with
down
your family.
some blue and some fescue, and that gave you the perfect color lawn. And and you had to put down the dandelion killer, and you had to put down the killer for this, and you had to put down the right insect thing, and you needed a roller, and those pesky moles would come through and pump up little risers in the lawn. So you needed a roller to roll those back down, and then you needed an aerator, and it just kept going and going. And
Sure.
everybody had a real mower to start
And
with because that was all they could build. And then the power mowers came along, and then the rotary mowers that we have today, and nobody cared about the health of the lawn. Nobody cared about anything else. All they cared was that you had this green monoculture that looked like it was a painting. And as long as you had that, you were a good man. You were providing for your family and doing what was necessary in the neighborhood.
Just because you had a green lawn.
It's all
And
part of the post-World War II car culture. And you're right. I mean, moving out to the suburbs, and then men weren't hunting and gathering anymore. They weren't at war anymore. Only thing left to do is, declare war on their lawns.
yeah,
And do spreadsheets. They were working on spreadsheets.
Yes.
and the thing about it is, all these grasses were pretty much researched by the golf people. It wasn't until the late 1800s that golf became popular in the U.S., and they didn't have any grasses that were worth a darn at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And the golf people pressured the government into doing the research.
Yep.
They got the USDA to support it. The USDA went to the land grant colleges and started pushing the land grant colleges. So by the 1920s, the late 1920s, they had pretty well come up with grasses that were northern grasses. And Oklahoma was the warm grass state that had a problem. And it's kind of interesting that Oklahoma would be the state that ended up doing the research on grasses that are in Florida, but they finally got some things that would kind of grow in Florida. And our St. Augustine grass, they found a grass growing wild in a monastery in St. Augustine, Florida. And it was the first wild growing grass. And of course, the people at the monastery, it was planted 200 years ago. We don't have a clue where it came from. Don't know anything about it. But that's the beginning of the St. Augustine grass. Comes from a monastery. We don't know where they got it, whether it is Northern European origin or.
Oh, it does grow wild, what they call St. Augustine grass. In fact, Bill and I ran across it at Bayport one time. We were looking for invasive plants. I'm fighting with a puppy in case there's
we noticed.
Calm. And it does. That was the first time I learned St. Augustine. It has native origins. What they have done to it, how they have hybridized it, is nothing resembling native. But what Bill and I found was it was more of a bunch grass. Certainly wasn't a running grass. It looked fantastic, but it was where salt water would, the high tide would come right on it. But it was about a foot tall. So they took that and they, played with it and played with it and played with it, came up with Floritan, which don't know if you know, Colby, that is UF and Texas A&M developed Floritan in 1973. And, they're trying to make meadow grass out of these Florida grasses that, it's a Frankenstein's monster, basically, that you're trying, and it can work. It can work just fine if conditions are absolutely perfect. Brooksville, city of Brooksville, Inverness Jade City, with all the big, oaks and things there, you can have some nice stands of it. Maybe not your whole lawn. My sister has incredibly beautiful St. Augustine grass up in North Brooksville. Not on her entire 2.5 acres, but, on a good portion of it. It's gorgeous. She doesn't water it. I have heard, I think her gentleman friend she has now, he has been known to fertilize it from time to time. But where she lives, you can walk around just about any time of year, and it's like squeak, 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 squeak. Very wet area. Has to be right in that right place, which Spring Hill normally does not fit any of those categories.
No. Definitely not with St. Augustine. It's funny you mentioned, so golf blew up in the United States after World War II because you have a bunch of active age men that don't have anything to do, so they all learn how to play golf in their free time, and it expanded the amount of golf courses in the United States. But we do have a couple questions here. The first of which is Colby's in the Middle East or Africa. I like to think I'm in Namibia. Don't know why. I've seen pictures there. It looks pretty. And what am I planting this week? In Namibia, nothing. Not here. There's nothing that's going to grow. But if I was back home in Spring Hill, maybe your okra, your onion, maybe. And sure, if you guys want to add in a little bit to what things are good to go in right now.
Corey should tell us
Cantaloupe.
he's building, or what he's building. Yeah. What kind of food are you building, Corey? What are you planting?
Cantaloupe would be good now.
Cantaloupe.
Mhm.
Huh. Interesting. And we had I've seen this native St. Augustine. I don't know what it's actually called, but we had it in the cow pasture back home in Sumter County. Back out. So this is all real low lying, real wet, earthy soil, and we had it back in the back near the tree line, which is almost all oak trees, bunch of oak trees. I've seen it pop up right there on the edge of the pasture before in the past.
Probably some kind of weed.
Yeah. Can I add a layer of compost over my lawn, and how often do I need to do so?
I would say yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Very
That's a fantastic idea.
use about 1/4 of an inch once a year, and that actually does very good things. That it's called top dressing when you do that.
Mm-hmm. It's a great. It's actually what if St. Augustine Floritan lawns are going to have any success in life in our future here, compost is going to have to be a part of it.
Mhm.
And the best way to do it is to put down a compost layer before you even put the St. Augustine grass down. The University of Florida, so Dr. Enlu is studying that, has been studying it for years. They have plot sites on top of the world in Ocala, and it's doing fabulous. And the compost seems to mitigate the take-all root rot. I'm not going to say it gets rid of it, but it it makes it not as bad of a problem. And then you top dress it at least once a year, from then on, because our soil profile is like things go through it very, very, very quickly.
Mhm.
Yeah, healthy St. Augustine does not suffer from take-all. So,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah, it's
and the compost does make it healthier. We got a serious problem coming up this year. The rural people are going to have lawn problems that they haven't had. They're going to have weed problems. We have not had a killing frost in my part of the county, which means that all those stupid weeds that went to flower, and I went out and mowed because I just realized all those flowers are producing seeds. So I have generated tons of weed seeds that are going to turn around and bite me. So it's very important this year to use a pre-emergent. If you let any of the weeds went to flower in your yard, you've now got weed seeds that will be coming up, and weeds are going to be much greater this year. Normally we get at least one killing frost, and you look out and there's these little black plants laying flat on the lawn, and I chuckle and oh, good, God did it for me. But this year it didn't happen.
I mean, it's still possible. Remember, we used to say March 15th, and then we started having freezes up through April 3rd.
The problem is we went so long that plants that wouldn't have flowered and produced seed got to flower and produce seed. So we really need to do some treatment. So if you haven't had any frost and you're rural, I would recommend that you put down pre-emergent now.
Do you have any maybe some examples of that pre-emergent herbicide? I know that they got that prodiamine. I know that's one, or that Dimension 2EW. Those are the two that I know about from my work experience. But maybe I'm not saying give a recommendation because it's really on your onto the specific things that you have going on in your lawn. You want to pick the correct thing, because you pick the wrong thing, you might kill everything that's there or not kill anything at all. But I know that like pre-emergent and post-emergent, those might be kind of foreign ideas to people who don't know.
Yeah, what do those two words mean? First of all, explain that.
Well, pre-emergent means something that you put down before the seeds germinate and start popping up as plants. And pre-emergent doesn't kill anything. If you go out and you spray the lawn with pre-emergent, you see absolutely no change, and that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Post-emergent is they're up and running. Now what do I do to kill them and get rid of them? And there's three kinds of weeds. There's grassy weeds, sedges, and broadleaves. Grassy weeds are a super problem. That's when you get the wild Bermuda running through your lawn, and you've got this grassy looking thing that has a real long stem, and you pull on it, and it's 5 feet long, and it's tangled all over in your lawn, and it's hard to get rid of. There isn't anything that you can spray on grassy weeds generally
that won't kill your lawn.
The weed part and not kill the lawn. Grass is grass. Grass is grass. That's too bad. There's some exceptions to that, but they're few and far between, and you really have to know what you're doing, because if you make a mistake in that situation, the lawn's gone, and when it's gone, it's over.
Yeah, make sure you're definitely doing your research, because I know we like to say the label is the law, and it is, but the label is not. It doesn't always tell you exactly what your target species are. So make sure that you do your research if you're going to spray any type of herbicide or pesticide for that matter.
But there is some out there that does know, like if you have a mixed lawn and you get something for St. Augustine, you got some Bahia in there, your Bahia might end up dead. Well, and you got to be really, really careful. While we're talking about that, this is the perfect time of year. Bernie, I'm going to go into the big box store. I'm going to get rid of these weeds. You just told me to. And I'm going to buy the first thing that's in the door, and that's some good old weed and feed.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Weed and feed is a wonderful product for almost nobody. The problem with weed and feed is twofold. First, you have to have a weed and feed that exactly matches your lawn. So if you go buy weed and feed and it's got atrazine in it, and you put it on your Bahia is not going to like that. And if you go buy one that's got 2,4-D in it, and you put it on your St. Augustine's not going to like that. So you have to have a product that matches your lawn type. Second, when the daytime temperature gets above 85 degrees, when you poison the weed, you're poisoning the lawn, and the lawn tends to be able to metabolize that poison. But once the temperature gets high, and high in this case is 85 degrees, if the daytime temperature is above 85 degrees, that chemical will kill your grass. The grass no longer can metabolize it. We have pictures of people that have done weed and feed on 90-degree days, and they have 100% of their lawn dead. You cannot put weed and feed down when it's hot. So you buy weed and feed, you go put it down, everything's fine, you got half a bag left. And then you look out in August and you say, gosh, there's a little yellow out there. I bet it could use some fertilizer. And you go grab your bag of weed and feed and you put it down, and it's just like pouring gasoline on a lawn. So if you never bought weed and feed, you don't have to worry about what the temperature is or what the product is that's in it. And a lot of these people have builders that put St. Augustine in the front because all the lawns now look the same, but St. Augustine costs more money, and they plant Bahia in the back. You can't do St. Augustine from seed, but you can do Bahia from seed. You can't do Floritan from seed anyway. So they plant Bahia in the back, they put St. Augustine in the front. Now you're in a situation of this weed and feed can't be used in both places. The weed and feed weeding part will kill one or the other of those two lawns. So
they're mullet lawns.
yeah,
Their business in the
Business
front,
in the front, party in the back.
so it just amazes me. I wanted to find out if one of our big box stores was carrying something I could recommend. So I went and I looked, and they had like 10 different kinds of fertilizer. All 10 of them were not a mix that I would recommend, and all 10 of them were weed and feeds. So, I mean,
yeah. And it's not just us three saying that. The University of Florida does not recommend the use of weed and feed products on Florida lawns. Mm-hmm. And Jim Davis has a story of a community in Hernando County where a gentleman put down weed and feed. And then the wife, of course, called Jim and said, look at this, it was dead. Whole thing was dead. And this was in, pretty fancy community here. And it said weed and feed for St. Augustine lawns. And then when Jim looked, remember, I was just looking at that fine print on this bag. When he looked at that fine print, it said not for Floratam. You just have to be so careful. And it's not a safe product to use. And those are two different things that in Florida, the way our weather works, you got to do at two different times. That's why Bernie's like run out there and do those pre-emergence now, because it's spring. Mm-hmm. It's full on spring, and you may even be too late. And trying to judge that 30-second interval when it happens to have just turned spring is very difficult here. So, Yep. And our secret fairy in the background is putting up all kinds of University of Florida
some IPIS articles and such.
Articles, yes, with information about that. Yeah. So, what do you think about the use of gluten?
Oh yeah, I was about to put that up there. Corn gluten in the spring.
I don't know anybody that actually has any real experience with it. I understand that is an actual good thing to do. I have no experience and cannot speak on that.
Okay.
We have it.
It won't hurt it. I can tell you that much.
No, it doesn't hurt anything. I will concede that.
Yeah.
But I personally would say its effectiveness is probably half of what other products do, but there are people that are really anti-chemical, and if you're one of those people, then I think this is probably a legitimate alternative.
Maybe mix it with that compost you're going to put down.
Yeah. There you go. Please let us know how that goes. We would love to hear the result of your corn gluten. We have another comment here from Cindy saying the news was talking about Kogan grass being invasive now. To my knowledge, Kogan grass has been invasive for a long time.
Well, Cindy's in South Florida, so maybe it's only becoming a problem down there where she is.
I know that.
It's a problem all of Colby's life. I can tell you.
Man, you can't. I can't drive to work, drive home. I can't go anywhere without seeing Kogan grass. In Central Florida, I know that. So it's federally listed. It's been federally listed for a number of years. It's really, really hard to kill. So if you were to take, you have a stand of Kogan grass and it's already crowded out everything else. So everything else under it is dead.
If you fire and chemicals repeatedly,
you can. Well, the thing is you can burn it. It's extremely well fire adapted, so you can burn it down and go home for a few days to come back, and it'll be sprouting back up. So if you take it and you just coat it with glyphosate up and down, which is Roundup, you coat it and the leaves will die, and you'll be like, all right, I did it. And you come back and the same thing. It looks like you burnt it and it just it's sprouting again. You really have to use a combination of just nasty, nasty herbicides like
cut and spray, cut and spray, cut and spray. So that
yeah, or you
gets it in there.
You could, because they like really they want to take that that glyphosate, put it on top, and then you actually mix it with like something nasty like a Mazapir, Ecomazapir, and put it in some soil active to kill the roots. And that's like the most effective way that I've seen to kill it. But not everyone has access to those types of chemicals. They're also extremely expensive. But it is like an ecological scourge on North and Central Florida. It is absolutely everywhere, and it doesn't even do the things that they brought it over here to do very well. I knew the erosion control, it was okay, but one of the things is like, oh well, it'll erosion control, and then we'll feed the blades to the cows. The cows do not want it. The cows are not going to eat it. I don't know if you've ever felt Kogan grass, but it's super.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the little saw blades on it, and
how you can tell Kogan grass, I mean, basically, if you see it, it's probably Kogan grass. But how you can really, it's very wide blade. It has those little white tufted flowers when it flowers. Now, there's a native grass like it called lopsided Indian grass. I'm going to say there's a 99.9% chance you're looking at Kogan grass, not lopsided Indian grass. But another way you can really tell is the margin is offset. It's not down the middle of the blade.
I'm trying to find us a picture here to show, because it is actually it's super easy to identify when you're looking at it. That is,
I'm sure when you worked at Swiftmud, that was probably your biggest.
That was I think I've killed probably thousands of acres of Kogan grass, or tried to, but I do know that. Hold on just a second. I'm going to try to pull up this picture of the... So that right there, that off-center midrib, and if it's not off-center, every blade of Kogan grass will look like this. And if you have one that looks weird, I promise you there's another one right next to it. So pick that one up and look at it. It is... incredibly invasive, and that was one of the biggest things when I did invasive plant control that we dealt with was Kogan grass. It spreads like very few other plants that I've ever seen. I think maybe kudzu might be up there on spreading quickly, but it's really well fire adapted. It doesn't. Yeah, we don't really have
not kudzu here.
Yeah, we don't have kudzu here.
We do have kudzu,
but not.
We do
it's
have
not.
A few stands of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not invasive here.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
It 100% will be. So we have south of Hernando County more so, but we do have it a little bit here. Is Old World climbing fern, which looks nothing like kudzu, but does a lot of the same things. And those two, kudzu's coming from the north and Old World's coming from the south. They're gonna meet one day, and I am. I of course I don't want any invasive plants here, but I am curious to see who's gonna come out on top of that battle, because both of those things are terrible.
Well, we can
terrible
hide
invasive
in
plants.
grass. We'll hide in the Kogan grass when they're battling it out.
Oh, man, yeah, there's no shortage of it.
Yeah, kudzu. And what's interesting about kudzu is it flowers. I didn't realize that. The flowers smell exactly like grape Kool-Aid.
I haven't been around it too much. It's interesting.
Dr. Strickland brought some in. I don't know if you remember that, Bernie. He would bring some in from time to time in his secret places where he knew where the kudzu was growing. Obviously, kudzu's not an issue here like it is up north. And I've been reading some things that up north, it may not be, it looks bad, but it's bad on the cleared off sides of the road where the sun gets it. Once it gets into the forested parts, it didn't grow that much in the shade. So, maybe they found a way to hopefully control that, and then we can work on some of the other invasive plants that the most invasive species of all, brought in.
Yeah, for sure. Dr. Bill says that we're making him proud. That's wonderful. I love to hear it.
Oh yes, yeah. What are you doing, Bill? You should be like, you said you were working.
Corey says he has some of it on his 5.5 acres, and that Kogan is getting spread by seed, but folks are trying to say that it doesn't. I've heard people say it's not. I know that that rhizome fragmentation is how that's how it's that's what people say it's always been. I do know that it spreads by seed. I've seen the pictures of it where it has the blooms and it's flowered, but I've only ever seen, I've very, very rarely, maybe a couple times, ever seen blooms here. I just, I don't know why. I don't understand. I don't know enough about when it blooms and such to look for it.
Royal Highlands.
Yeah,
I've seen it blooming in the Royal Highlands.
It moves by seed.
Yep, and it's
Definitely.
But I do know that like some of the people that I've heard talking about it, especially when I worked at SwiftBud, not people that worked at SwiftBud, but people speaking about Kogan grass have said that it's like we don't really need to worry about the seed spread. It's really the rhizome fragmentation. Yeah, and it's
well, that's kind of what makes it invasive is that it has multiple
vectors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Kogan grass is a real terrible one. If you have a little bit, like, do your best to take care of it because it will just continue to grow and spread, and that's not great. That's not great for anybody.
When I sold my house in the Royal Highlands, it was a block away, and the Kogan grass, and I'm thinking with all the the lots they're cutting down, all the building that they're doing, that it's going to be, up where my house, my former house is very, very soon, and will be a problem for the new people. I lived pretty close, about, I would say, a mile from where they're going to build that massive lagoon type.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Community that everybody's in an uproar about, which this isn't horticultural in any way, but they just found a bomb at the airport. I'm sure Bernie was not surprised. Bernie was not surprised. New people here acted like, what? The rest of us know they're a bomb at the airport. This happens like every 20 years. It's not
calling it a bomb. Calling it a bomb seemed, it seems kind of like disingenuous because I guess technically
a World War II munition something.
Actually, it was a bomb.
Well, it was a bomb, but like I think that like when you say that, it starts freaking people out. But it's
the Army Corps of Engineers.
The area north of 50 was a practice site, so. Every once in a while, they would go through and hunt for bombs. And about 15 years ago, they made a really major effort to go through.
Yeah, and they said they found them all. And I
thought, they didn't say they found them all, but they cleared all they could find. So I'm sure that there are a few they've missed. The university has a really good publication on how to get rid of Kogan grass. If you Google Kogan grass control UF, a little publication comes up, and it explains what you have to do, and it also explains that it's a 2 or 3 year proposition that you can't get rid of it overnight, no matter what you do. So.
Yep. Catherine is wanting to know how to identify it. Maybe you could bring that picture up again.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I closed the tab and try to find it.
It doesn't look like a lawn at all. It looks like a reed grass, basically. I think you could probably make some really nice baskets out of it. Maybe
It's a very tall grass, and it has an offset midvein. The offset midvein is the actual clue on that. He showed a picture of it.
I'm not pulling it back up now.
If the midrib isn't in the middle, it's probably Kogan grass, and you'll find that this is fairly. There you go, perfect picture.
But, that's a close up. But it's going to be
I'll find another one in just a moment.
Yeah, 3.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
It looks like, reeds along a pond. It looks more in like a cattail family than your basic grassy lawn. That doesn't mean it's not going to encroach upon your lawn. It's coming. And so it's very difficult. You have to get at it when you first see it coming.
So here's this is a perfect example of what what the stands of cooking grass look like. I've seen it from acres and acres down to just a couple little spots, a couple blades coming out of the ground. But like this is a really good. It's really dense, really thick. A lot of times it's laid over to one way with the wind, and it'll just grow like that. It comes up in curves like this and will be laid over. That's a good way, but it's really bright green. In the when you get out of the spring and summer, sometimes it can get a little bit of a yellowish tint to it. And it's really it's got like the saw blades, the ribs, or not ribs, the spurs almost feeling on the edges of those blades.
Seems like there can be some commercial use for it.
We have a grass on the east side of town, just off of London Hill Road. I don't know if I should have mentioned the road or not, but anyway, this grass grows about 6 feet tall, and it's very pretty. And there's a fairly long strand, a long stretch where this stuff is growing. And we had a gentleman come in one day, and he said, "I think that's really pretty, and I would like to get some and plant it at my property, but I need to know if it's invasive or not." So we didn't know what it was, and contacted the university, and they came back and they said it's not in commercial use, but it's not really considered invasive. It's easily controlled if you need to. Yeah, said it spreads fairly fast, but you can stop it anytime you want. So okay, we explained it, and the guy took 10 plants and moved them out not too far from where I live. And as far as I can tell, he's still got just the 10 plants.
Is it some kind of gamma grass or something they had?
Well, no, it was. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something pretty unusual. But there is
they put it there for erosion and to hide when the mine was there.
Yeah, that's what it was for. Was to hide the mine.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of those grasses that are a problem. There's a lot of those grasses that aren't a problem. So, what I want to get at is don't just go out and take something in the wild and move it unless you really know what it is, because people have gotten in serious trouble transplanting things that are invasive. It's like the guy that drives by and looks at the Brazilian pepper and says, "Oh, that's pretty. I like the little
goodness."
And the next thing you know, we got a stand of Brazilian pepper someplace, and the guy had no idea that he shouldn't plant it.
Yep. I always would say beware of the friendly neighbor or mother or sister, not that I'm speaking from personal experience, who might bring you something like, "This was just growing everywhere. It's so easy to grow,"
So this is a wonderful plant guide. Everybody around the extension office knows what kind of a neat book this is. So if you come by, we'll give you one. This is a great book. It has a plant selection list on things you can plant, has some hints on how to do landscaping, and if you landscape correctly, you can get rid of a bunch of the grass. All these things we talked about kind of go away, and I think that landscaping is definitely prettier than grass.
It's the Florida Friendly Guide to Plant Selection and Landscape Design. Did I actually get that right?
It. Do you remember?
That was about right.
How many thousands of these have we given out over the years?
Yes.
I mean, this is a great book. Swift Mud started it. The university does it now. We want to thank both groups. It's one of those things that before I got one of these books, almost 30 years ago, I spent a lot of money on things that didn't grow. When I got the book, I started using the plant guide. The plant guide really works. If they say it'll play in your area, if you follow the little guide on what you need for sunlight and water and so forth, it absolutely goes. It's not totally inclusive, but the things that are in there are great plants and they work. So if you want to, if you're a newcomer to Florida, or if you've been here a while and you need something, some ideas, a great book. And the best part is, if you come in, it's free.
Yep.
Problem is, the things are so darn heavy, we can't afford to mail them. So please don't ask us to mail you one. We just can't do it.
They're pretty darn heavy when there's 47 of them in a box.
In a box, yep. Oh, I've loaded them. They're rough. If you go to the extension office, or let me know and come to one of my events or my office, I will bring you one as well.
Colby, I saw that the sheriff's office has already posted their Safety and Fun Fest 2024, October 2024. I think it's October 26th or something. I saw that. I was so happy. So happy.
Oh, yeah.
So happy.
Oh, yeah.
So
oh,
happy.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, and that you are.
Oh, yeah, I bet. No comment. So Cindy says, talking about killer grass, it almost looked like a decorative grass. I think I've sliced my hands trying to pull it out. That'll happen. It'll get you.
Put on some gloves.
Yep. I don't touch it personally. I spray it with stuff that's gonna kill it.
Yes.
But a question.
Best to mow it before you spray it, so that it takes it into its system.
Mm-hmm. Question here: air potatoes strangle my azaleas. Any way to get rid of them, or dig all out? A ton of work. It is a ton of work, and I think that's like the best way to do it, to my knowledge, is to
go to the bottom of your
azalea
and cut. But also, probably by June, the air potato beetles are going to eat a whole bunch of that air potato for you. But Anne Marie, are you in?
I think they're way up north, if I remember correctly.
So you may not have them yet.
There is chemical control for air potato. You cut the vine about 4 foot above the ground and paint the remaining part of the vine with Garlon.
Maybe what you can do is email Dr. Lester and ask him if in your area, if he knows of any air potato beetle programs, because it's been very successful here in our area. And what the beetles do is they eventually skeletonize the leaves so that they don't photosynthesize. And the air potato, it's not eradicated from our life, but it's not what it once was. So these beetles have done a great job. So if the air potato, to avoid the beetles, is running up to where you are, then you need to incorporate some kind of air potato beetle program up where you are. But I would ask Dr. Lester about that. Email him.
If you have the beetles in the area, they'll start showing holes in the leaves. The beetles don't start doing this until June, late June sometime.
Right. They make babies first, and then they let the babies eat up all the leaves, and that is about June or so. In the meantime, while you're waiting for waiting to meet the beetles. Bernie knows what that means. Anyway, dig up, and while it's winter and you can see the potatoes well, every single one of them that you can possibly see, pick it up, throw it away in your kitchen trash. We used to have air potato roundups to try, like at Chinsegat Hill and stuff, to try and control it. And at the extension office, there was a leftover bag or there was somebody brought in just air potatoes, just the potatoes, the starchy potato things. They were in a couple plastic bags, literally thrown in a corner, in a dark corner, and forgotten about. Like 6 months later, I picked up that bag. It was sprouting inside the bag in a dark corner. There's so much energy in that potato. And they have tried, different entities have tried, like at forestry and stuff, to play with the potatoes. They're not poison, but they're not palatable. No animal even wants to eat them. And they have tried different ways to maybe make them edible, and they couldn't do it. So,
I know Dr. Bill and I were at Timber Pines last week, and a resident there brought us an air potato and asked us, what is this thing and what do I do with it? And basically we told her, it's like, well, it is good to get rid of those tubers. So I want to remind you that if you are going to dig them up and get rid of them, don't put them with your yard waste. Especially in Hernando County, because we have a yard waste that picks up separately from your normal trash. If you put that in your yard waste and then they take it and put it with all the other yard waste, sometimes it gets ground up. Sometimes it gets just sold as is. And that will just spread air potatoes. So the tubers you dig up, like, put those in your garbage so they go to the line landfill and they never ever grow ever again, unless it's in a nice trash infested chemical environment where they'll never spread. So that's just a reminder to take those air potatoes if you dig them up or find them, and throw them in your big blue trash can. Do not put them with your yard waste.
And Anne Marie Bill has websites too about the air potato beetle program, but you can call the Madison County Extension Office and ask them, are you involved in any air potato beetle programs? Do I have a way of possibly receiving some to set them free, or have they been set free anywhere in my area? Because if they have been, they'll get to you eventually.
Yep. So it's about time to wrap up. We got one more question here from Catherine, and it's a big one. How can I turn my sandy backyard into a grassy backyard? And should I sift out the seashells? It's odd because I'm in the middle of a large neighborhood.
Where do you live, Catherine? We need to know that.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of different variability in different parts of just Hernando County. Depending on if you're in Brooksville. You say seashells, that sounds, you might be over in Hernando Beach, which is a completely different soil environment than somewhere like North Brooksville.
Right.
That sounds like the builder put them there.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Sterling Hill.
Sterling Hill. So there's no reason for seashells to be naturally in your ground in the middle of Spring Hills. So I'm going to say you have some interesting fill dirt. Are they seashells or are they snails?
And if they're white, that's all just like that lime rock, calcium carbonate. So you're going to have a pretty high pH, I'd say, in your soil.
I'd say start a program of that composting for now. You're not going to have an instant answer. Mm-hmm. But you got organic material to that crap fill dirt that they brought for you. So yeah, because even the natural dirt, the natural soil in that area should not be that bad. But you're all dealing with fill dirt, and they get that at the bottom of something. A lot of times what happens is they'll build a GRA in your community and use the dirt that they used to build that drainage retention area for fill dirt, or sometimes they just got it from who knows where.
Yeah.
So the answer I have for you, I'm going to murder them, is start on an organic matter program as soon as you can. Mm-hmm. And you can even, there's Some of the lawn companies, you have to call around, will do that for you too. So find out, or call the extension office, talk to Teresa, and find out what companies can help her get started on a compost program.
And Teresa actually, I assume, added a link here that you should put those air potatoes in the freezer for 24 hours. I assume that kills them dead, makes them not viable anymore. But if that's all the questions we got, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank everyone again for listening to us talk. Like I said at the beginning, we wouldn't do this if people didn't come and listen. So I'll go ahead and put down some of our information. If you have any really hard questions, send them to Dr. Lester.
I'll go to Bill.
His email's right there. The Hernando extension. Oh, I got two up at once. HernandoExtension.com right there at the bottom. That's going to be your everything that they're doing. And then you can just, Bernie's holding up a compost article. I've learned that if you have any type of yard question and you live in Florida, if you just tack on IFAS to the end, you'll probably get a pretty good answer.
Yep.
Anytime I'm trying to figure something out for someone who's asked me a question that I don't know, that's what I do. My email.
All of us, we don't just know this stuff off the top of our heads.
Yeah, it's all research.
Of doing
This
that
program is February 22nd, 2 p.m. at the extension office. So it's a class. So if anybody has any
for
interest,
agricultural producers, who's putting that class on?
who is putting this class on? That's a good question. Here, come around here and
Okay.
get in there. Come on.
Okay, Dr. Monica Hampton will be your guide unraveling the myriad of benefits of incorporating compost in agricultural practices to reduce reliance on fertilizers and chemicals. That'll be Thursday, February 22nd, 2 p.m. here at the Extension Office on Aviation Loop.
Okay,
And this
I would
is
love
the
her. I
illusion
want everyone, big round for Teresa and everything she does.
Yeah, for real. It's a ton of help.
Yes.
After, if you attend that, and on the 23rd, you'd like to get a free compost for Hernando County residents, if you'd like a free compost bin, right here at my link tree, we have a link there that sign up for a rain barrel workshop, compost bin workshop. That'll be there. We do the compost bin portion first. So if you're not interested in purchasing a rain barrel, you'll be able to do that. Sign up there or send me an email if you have any questions. I'll be able to guide you all the way through it. And we don't put up Lily's email anymore because she is retired.
You can email Colby or Bill or whatever, or if you have any questions for me, they know how to get a hold of me.
Alrighty.
I'm busy,
Well,
fighting an old lady dog and a puppy dog, fighting each other.
Yeah. So, well, with that, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. So thanks everybody for listening to us this week, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Good to see you all.